I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive deep. In the post Me Too, post Epstein world, we need real healing. But I myself have a Me Too experience, a number of them. People have asked me, well, Kristena, how would you heal a sexual wound? This is how I heal mine. One of the ways that I worked with these wounds was I made art. I made art. I watched the interview with those beautiful, strong, courageous women coming forward to share their story of being sex trafficked as children. Children, children. Women throughout the world are on high alert. Women in America have grown up in a world that is skewed to male dominance. It's a man's world. As women, we have learned to be quiet, to be not too provocative, don't call too much attention to ourselves, to become invisible, to be compliant, to not be too much or too little, too fat, too thin, to be just right, as Goldilocks porridge was. Women think this way, by the way. Not all women, but many women think this way. They just don't say it out loud. It's what women don't talk about in polite society. I see so many content creators completely ignoring what's happening in the world as if nothing's actually happening and the world's just fine and nothing's going on. Let's all pretend there's no elephant in the room and there's no donkey either. And I have a very professional persona. I've been in business all my life. And most people have never seen this because this is the work I did in Berkeley. And I think it's time to bring it out of the box. And you're going to see another side of a real woman, what a real woman looks like in her interior world. So I'm going to do the next series of vlogs on art and healing because, hi, I'm Kristena, Kristena of Kristena West Art and Healing, and talk about how, as a shaman and a precognitive dreamer and led men and women's groups since the 90s, sitting in council circle with men and women talking about the abuse that they experienced. Men, not only at the hands of other boys when they were growing up in their hazing rituals, but their mothers molesting them. And the women in our group who also had date rape experiences. What you're doing is shadow work. I said, I know. I said, it's my specialty. It's what I came here to do. And it's the toughest, hardest, slipperiest, most transformative, alchemical, taking the prima materia, which in our layman's terms or laywoman's terms is called the shit of the shit of our life and transforming it into gold. I can't be silent in anymore in what's happening with these Epstein files. And because you're going to see the art that I did, which you're actually seeing in the background. And so I had an event happen to me when I was a child that I repressed. And because I'm a precognitive dreamer, I know how to do my inner work around a wound. But I didn't know that when I was 14. And I didn't know that when I was 18 or 20 or 28. I had to learn different modalities of healing and do core interior work until I was strong enough for my memories to come back. And when my memories came back, they came back in nightmares. And I, of course, have kept dream journals my entire life, and I wrote it down. And it was through having dreams and then corroborating that with people in my life who knew me when I was growing up without poisoning the well. I didn't tell them what was happening in my interior world. I just said, did you ever notice blank, 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 blank? And a couple of months later, my sister came up and said, this is what happened. And she told me something that happened when I was very young that I actually had the nightmare about, that I thought it was a dream. And it was actually a memory. So these are the kind of things that happen when you're doing a commitment to doing a piece of healing in your work. And I didn't know that the sexual wound of my story, which I'm not going to share, but I'm going to talk about how I healed it and how I took, because the first thing that women who are shut down through sexuality or even physical violence is they are basically groomed not to speak up and not to have any anger. So where does that anger go? Well, it goes into drinking, eating, it goes into shopping, it goes into resentment, it goes into not being able to go forward in their life path. And this is the number one thing that I found because I actually studied the witch trials for many years because I was trying to understand where did women's authentic power go? Where did women's power go? And I was studying with Michael Harner at the Foundation of Shamanic Studies. I was doing their 3-year advanced shamanic training program. And he said, shamans are in every single culture. And I thought, well, there's not in white culture. I know they're in Native American culture. I know they're in the Japanese. I know they're in Zen Buddhism. But what happened to white women? And then I had a dream. I had a true dream. And in the dream, I was taken to a circle of witches. And they told me that it was time for me to start studying witchcraft, the witches. And when I woke up, because I always talk to my dream teachers, I said, I am not going to be studying witches. Witches were bad and blah, blah, blah. And I had eaten the pill of his story, what his story, male priests for the most part, wrote about the witch trials. So in 6 months, I had 15 books by the side of my bed. I had all the PhD women who were just at that time starting to just actually getting their books published on the goddess traditions, the white goddess, that was coming out. Also, the woman who, uh, Maria Gumbatis, who brought forth that it was really a matriarchal culture until the male domination flipped it. So this is incredibly empowering for women to read this. So read it, read it, read it, read it. Talk about it, talk about it. Get out there, get your friends together, get those women together and do some storytelling. Just read the books together. And I'm going to go deeper into this dive of the kind of art that I did. And you're going to see what kind of woman I am on the inside because there's a wild woman in every single woman who isn't put together, who doesn't have her lipstick on, who is barefoot and fierce. To clue you in, I slowly came into my own healing rounds of circles that I got into with other women and therapists and it was like a stepped gradation, which is actually really healthy because it's safe and it was actually given to me through the spiritual worlds, through my dream soul. And that many, many, many dreamers have. So I had done a chunk of healing in those circles. I did another chunk of healing as I got into other groups and as I matured as a woman, because when I think of those beautiful women that were victims of Epstein, they were children. They were 14. And one of them said, and I don't know her name, we're not little girls anymore. And that was a powerful statement. And that brought tears to my eyes. It made my heart swell with pride in the humanity of being a woman in a woman's body in this world in which they see us, many people see us as less than just because we're in a female form. So I thought I was done with my healing of my sexual wound. It was absolutely intense. It was fabulous. It was a lot of grief, a lot of anger, a lot of realizing that I could speak up now and realizing that I can choose when I can speak up and when I don't have to speak up, but not to hide anymore. And that today I'm not hiding anymore. I can't come out and pretend that life is wonderful in America because I'm a woman and I'm a teacher and I'm a healer. And my channel is Kristena West, Art and Healing. And if I don't talk about healing the sexual wound in America, I might as well just shut it down. So much of my biography is the healing of this sexual wound, which is in our Grail stories. It's in so many stories. It's in the Navajo story of the twin warriors. It's everywhere. Sexuality is one of the biggest challenges of this world. So I'm going to tell you that I had a big dream to leave everything, my partner, who I loved, and my fabulous practice in Santa Barbara, and took about 6 months to consider it. And my wonderful partner got me up to Berkeley to take the master's transformative arts and consciousness. I always want to do short vlogs for you so you can get on with your day, but this is important. And if you've got a sexual wound somewhere in your history, keep listening. We had a teacher in the class, and it was called the Spiritual and Modern Art. And he said that there was no no women. Now listen up. No women had done spiritual art until the 60s, the 1960s. No women had done spiritual art until the 1960s. So you're talking to somebody who studied spirituality her entire life and women artists, and who was tracking that area of consciousness when they were making art. And I exploded. I was so angry. I couldn't believe I was paying $800 a class to listen to this crap. And I was so on fire. There was a gal, I wasn't the only one. All the women in that class had their own experiences, but I'm just going to share you mine. So there was a gal in the class that was a sculptor, and she was really good at metalwork. And because I had studied the witch trials, I decided I was going to do a performance piece for him on the Skull's Bridle. And I will put a picture of the Skull's Bridle in here for us. And the Skull's Bridle is like a parakeet cage made of metal that the husband would put over the wife's head. And it had, where the door was for the bird to get in, opened, was a plate, a metal plate, laid on the woman's tongue. Some of the plates were smooth, but some of those metal plates had like nails put through them. So it shredded the woman's tongue. And it's called the Skull's Bridle. And of course, it was only the men who publicly humiliated their wives by walking his wife around the village as a scold. SCOLD. The massive amounts of documentation around this. These were women who were angry at their husbands for taking the money because the children were starving. And he was either having an affair or he was taking the money and going to the pub and getting drunk. And because they were trying, and this is a daily occurrence, right? And there wasn't enough money to buy food, she was called a scold. This is just one instance, by the way. We're talking the worst form of humanity, which is what we're seeing now. Jealousy, envy, resentment, debauchery, vindictiveness, retribution, the use and abuse of power over. And you have to make a stand or not. This is our great test right now. Are we going to make a stand, or are we going to pretend nothing's happening? So I was on fire. And one of the pieces of art is the one that I'm sitting in front of. And this is called Barbie's Box. I'm an internationally recognized doll maker. I was in the galleries in New York and all over. In the 90s, I was in doll magazines, and I was doing one-of-a-kind dolls for people to call their soul forward into their life, to activate their purpose. That's part of my practice as well. So I also had a Barbie on a cross, which I don't have an image of, and she's beautiful. I painted her as a Hindu, and she's on, I had an oak tree that I loved. I had pieces of the oak tree for the cross, And I had Barbie with her hands with big diaper pins nailed to the cross with her legs open. And on her yoni was a sacred symbol of protection. Then I had this one, which is called Barbie's Box. And you can see, I had to play with the image so that you could see it. So we have at the bottom the animal kingdom. We have a panther. We have some pre-Raphaelite collage with a woman, covering her head. We have a beautiful girl daydreaming. This is the innocence of young children, the innocence of a girl. And every woman who sees that will remember themselves at that age. We have the man and woman in the, it's like from a romance 16, remember when you were 16 and you were starting to get those comic books? That's sort of like young romance. But then also these wild animals now are starting to have some ferocity and power. And again, it's those pre-Raphaelites. Also, this movement going up. So it's the percolation of emotion, the emotional nature around sexuality was this Barbie's box. And what's inside this box could be very shocking for most people, actually, because it's painted on the sides, it's painted on the back, and what's inside is I augmented Barbie. So I got paper clay that you can take Barbie and you can augment the body, which is what I did with all my Barbies for this series of work. And because working with a Barbie, that is the epitome of an unreal woman. For every woman in the world who sees Barbie goes, oh my God, that's like never going to happen to me. I'm never going to look like that. I'm never going to have that. When you do life drawing, it's 7.5 heads of a human being for the body. So in fashion design and drawing, I'm a fashion designer, it's 9.5 heads. So Barbie is even longer than a 9.5 head high body. It was so transformative and exhilarating and powerful to take that body and shape it in a different way. But I wasn't actually trying to make Barbie fat or anything like that. What I was doing was creating a scene inside the box that when you open the box, you were really shocked. That's what it feels like for many women when they get smacked, either physically, morally, spiritually, or sexually abused. And most of them go underground for many years until they don't. And I don't anymore. So this is my coming out party of something I thought nobody was ever going to see because, it was really for my healing and I didn't need to share it. But with these Epstein files, I think when we talk about art and healing, people have asked me, well, Kristena, how would you heal a sexual wound? This is how I healed mine, in part. It wasn't just making art. It was getting into therapy for years and doing dream work and doing deep, I know how to work my soul. But that I didn't know at the beginning. So you need helpers to help you through this because it is a darkness. You're going down like Ishkragul, if I'm pronouncing her name right, into the deepest, darkest depths where she meets her dark sister. And that's where we have to transform ourselves. Every woman who's been sexually abused has to do this, or not. They can choose not to. And then there's a whole other packet of worms. So this is Barbie's box, and at the very top is a big, shiny star, which is very tempting. Like, oh, I just have to open this. Oh, what's inside? Oh, how wonderful! Oh, is it a present? Ha ha ha! And it isn't. And there's 2 doors, right? So this is one door. And you'll recognize this. This is this is from Michelangelo's in the Sistine Chapel. It's the Judgment. I'm a wild woman. And what is he looking at? Oh my God, what is he looking at? What's behind me? What is that red? What is that? Ooh, there's red velvet and there's red feathers and oh, what is that? What is that? What is that I see? So this is Barbie's box. This is Barbie sitting there on, you know, those Revlon mirrors that we've all bought growing up? You take a little Revlon mirror and you do your makeup. So it's half of a Revlon mirror, it's cut, and she's sitting on the mirror. And you can just see the edge of the mirror there. And on the mirror is a little tiny, tiny black toy gun. And you can imagine what the gun symbolizes as she's sitting there with her vulva open. Welcome. Welcome, bienvenue, welcome. Un cabaret, un cabaret, un cabaret. Oh God, I'm still so pissed about this. I'm pissed at what they're doing to women. And I'm pissed that the soul of these humans, men and women, are in collusion with this, and then the others that aren't, and they're speaking up. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because we need heroes. We do need heroes and heroines, but it's going to be us that do it, you know, the women. So this is, I have so much to tell you about this, but I don't want to go too. So what we have on Barbie's box is this young girl. Now you have to understand that this was done in 2000, 2001, 2002. The Epstein files was not on the map. We didn't have social media. I didn't have a cell phone. I wasn't documenting anything. When you're doing art in the master's program, it wasn't about documentation. It was about living artistically and working with what was coming up. And because this teacher said that women had done no spiritual art since the 60s, I just showed him what women have been relegated to for most of his story. And we can't do spiritual art either until he said the 60s. So I wrote him a 10-page paper, you know, cataloging all the women artists throughout time, doing spiritual art. And I had a private interview with him. And in all fairness to him, he had taught that class the same way for over 20 years. And he never taught it that way again. He never said that again. So to be fair to Charles, that was his name, that was a spiritual victory for me, for a man, a professor of his lineage, to hear me and change his protocol about women. So you can see from what I did with Barbie's box how I worked sort of on this side, sort of the emotional field of, it's sort of disturbing. We have leaping leopards and coiled black panthers and flying birds and women doing all kinds of things. And then this male and female cheesy romance. Like, what is going on in this box? And it's tacky. The box is tacky. And I wanted it to be tacky. I wanted it to be kitsch. So I had pop beads on it, and I have on the side, which you can't see, not, but on the side of the box are matches on the little tiny blue railing that is on the side. I've got matchsticks, and I have a real matchbox so that you can just burn the witch, right? Burn the witch. We're not supposed to say the word women now, right? From the White House. Women, 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 on how to use art for healing personal traumas, tragedies, owies, wounds. So I don't know if I actually finished the sentence about holding a Barbie in your hand, this emblem of the perfect woman that's unattainable for any woman. And being able to, with paper clay, repurpose it to what I wanted to do. It is so empowering because painting is wonderful because you get to make a picture. But when you're working three-dimensionally, you can augment the arms, the boobs, the butt, the legs. You can pose it. You can take things apart. You can take arms off, put other arms on. It's like you are the creator of your three-dimensional object, which becomes a being, a being. So this art wasn't made just to shock people. It was to wake up the person who had all these expectations about what was inside this box and shock them so they would do a 180, maybe a 360. And there's actually layers to this. This isn't actually the entire story of this, but I think that's plenty for now, because as as our green man is showing, wow, what's going on? So have you yourself used your art practice in whatever art practice or creative practice you have, if it's journaling or painting or sculpture or found objects or making things? Like this was actually made. This is like a found object piece. It's one of a kind. It was made for me, for my personal journey, my personal story, my personal healing. It was to get something that was in me that was just like on fire and get it out into three-dimensional form. And once it's out, it's such a relief, because in Berkeley, we had a crit, and we had what was called a black box. And the black box was completely black. It was a room pitch black. And I had podiums sit around. I think I had 5 of these. And I had little candles in little candle glass containers. And I started talking about what was going on with me. And I would light one candle at a time. And people were blown away by what I did, because this is just the beginning of the story. And there's plenty here to unpack for women and men. I want to remind you that one of my spiritual gifts is I'm a twin spirit, which actually has nothing to do with sexuality. It has to do with being able to teach both genders without bias. I did quite a bit of this Barbie art in the 2 years I did this. And then I had other experiences, some of them in dreams, that led me to do another 180 pivot. So for me, the 2 years of studying transformative arts and consciousness at Berkeley was complete open dive into healing without judgment, just completely open. You can see what I did. This isn't nice. This isn't polite. This isn't, oh, let's not really go there. This is about, this is what I see happens to women all over the world. This violence against women. Hence, she's sitting with her crotch open on a gun on the Revlon mirror. And I've had a fashion store for over 20 years. So I know all about fashion and Botox and diets and all that stuff that's ingrained in the marketing to have women conform to a certain look. So those of us who don't, thank you. We're warriors in our own bodies. So I would love to see the art that you did for a piece of your healing, but I will put my email so you can contact me and send me some images and tell me your story. Give me a couple of paragraphs of what the art was, your process for your art was. If you're interested, we could go further with this, because this is my métier. I love doing this sort of work with women and men. So this is Barbie's box. I don't think I have a picture of the matches on the side. Okay, so you can see on both sides the matchsticks, and they run all along the sides with a big matchbox, you know, the strike and the little sign that says strike here. So you could grab a match, strike it, and burn the witch. You could burn the witch in Barbie's box. What projections we women hold. So if you have used your art, your creativity for a piece of your interior healing, thank you, thank you, thank you. Know that all work that you do, that's healing work, concentrated focus, goes out to the world to heal our ancestors, ourselves, our family, but also the world. That women, we are called, we are healers. We're the miracle workers, and we are the seers and the future that's coming. We hold the future that's coming in our bodies. I want to encourage all women in whatever way they feel comfortable, to speak up, to say, me too, to say no more, to say, I've had enough, basta, finite. So art and healing doesn't have to be a soft watercolor floral. It can be something like this that's outlandish, flamboyant, in your face. Create it. If you don't see it, make it, work it, share it. And if you want to share it with Kristena West Art, send me images. So I think that hopefully just begins to open a door in how we can use our art for healing, how we can all heal our little girls. And some women disappear and they're the silent ones. Some women are the placaters. They please everybody. Some people, some gals are conformists because they're male identified women. It's a psychological term. They're male identified women. And many women are male identified. And just so you know, I love men. We got to come out of Barbie's closet here about what's happening with these Epstein files and what happened to those children. So how do I feel about what's happening in the world? I know the shadow, the dark piece of the shadow is being slowly peeked at now. They haven't ripped off the veil of the atrocity yet. And so we're slowly getting used to it might be worse than we think. And that is preparing us psychologically for the unveiling of these disastrous, depraving deeds against children. I want to remind you, we never talk about the witch trials. Never talk about the witch trials. It just didn't happen. So it did happen. It'll continue to happen unless we speak up. I really appreciate you hanging in there for this vlog. Thank you so much for listening to this very deep dive in women's art and healing. And I just want to say, if you're a woman out there, you know how to heal. You know what to do. You know that we have been using arts and crafts and materials and found objects and quilting and stitching and jewelry making and weaving to heal ourselves. When I was doing my shamanic training, the gal that was my roommate was a professor at the University of New Orleans. She was an anthropologist. And she said that, because I used to talk to her about the witch trial study that I was doing at the time. And she said, Kristena, weaving, the loom or the treadle on the sewing machine. But she said weaving, that loom, was actually a way women could go into journey work, shamanic journey work. They could go into a trance-like state and pray to the, not just Christ and Mary, but to the country, to the gods. They were healers and protectors of crops. We were magnificent. And I have a lot more to say about this, but if you look at the narrative arc of the witch trials, you end up with neurotic, hysterical women sitting in Freud's waiting room because we were murdered for speaking up. So don't think what's happening now is just going to pass by. This is going to re-stimulate, trigger women on a somatic level, even if they've never read about the witch trials. They don't even know what they are because the body and our ancestral memory knows. So I want to support you in your authentic, deep skills and knowing. This isn't about making art, as you can plainly see. This is kitsch, found objects. This is what I had on hand. I was away from home from all my crafts supplies, so I was getting things at thrift stores. But I just made it because it was living in me, and I wanted to extract it out of my body. And that's a shamanic healing, to extract the poisons from the body. And that's what healing is. We want to take these things that limit us, that hold us back, that tell us to be quiet, to keep our mouth shut, to hold our tongues, artistically, creatively, in writing, in speaking, in singing, in going forward in our right livelihood and our life purpose. So it is up to you, honey. It's up to you to go forward. I hope you do. I hope you join me. So thank you for listening to Kristena West, Art and Healing. And this remark, I didn't think I was ever going to show this ever because it was really my personal healing and my personal story. So I love you all. Take care. We're going to get through this. It's going to be better. Doesn't mean it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. It's all going to be love and light. We're the ones we've been waiting for, right? So we can do it every day, one step at a time. I can do it. I can do it with the help of the spiritual worlds. I can do it. I can do it with the help of the spiritual worlds. I can do it. I can do it with the help of the spiritual worlds, with the help of the spiritual worlds. Bye for now, and let's get creative.